All right.
Good morning, ma'am.
One thing, I have posted all the documents that I have referred for this unit, made slight editings wherever I think I could work things out. Just in case you need to refer, please feel free to do so. All right then, let's quickly revisit the things we were talking about yesterday and then we continue. Fine, we started talking about a situation of something like overemployment equilibrium where your actual AD is more than what we required for full employment equilibrium. That is what goes as the situation of excess demand, where your AD is more than AS corresponding to the full employment level of output. And just a second, please. All right, we were talking about this yesterday, where your AD is equal to AS at full employment level of output, उसको हम full employment equilibrium बोलते हैं. Just in case the AD is greater than the AD that we require, then you will not have your full employment equilibrium. हमारा full employment equilibrium होगा somewhere here. So if I say that AD, this point, is greater than AS, this point, at full employment level, then we are looking at a situation of excess demand. And this gap here, corresponding to the full employment difference between both the ADs, the actual AD and the required AD, goes as the inflationary gap. Someone to help me recall what all reasons did we discuss for a situation like this? What can lead to excess demand? Any reason that you can recall?
Export, increase in export.
Taken. Increase in export. Taken. Any
Increase in
other?
government expenditure.
Taken. Reduction in taxes. Taken. Fall in imports. Taken. I hope we can also offer explanation for this as to how will this increase the aggregate demand. So we had several reasons for this. Talking about impact, how do you think excess demand is impacting employment? फुल एम्प्लॉयमेंट से आगे चले जाएंगे तो रियल टर्म्स में एम्प्लॉयमेंट पे क्या इम्पैक्ट है?
And there's no impact on employment because it's already in full employment level.
Taken, thank you. Also, there's no impact on output since all your factors of production are in use and you're working with and you have no idle capacity, so your output in real sense is also not increasing. The only thing that is changing here will be the price level, जिसको हम inflationary tendencies कहते हैं, where there's a regular or constant rise in price happening. Then we discussed measures to correct. Measures को हमने दो में divide किया था, fiscal और मॉनेटरी. अब मेजर्स आपने कैसे करेक्ट करना है? आपका एडी इज मोर देन व्हाट वी वांट, तो हमने एग्रीगेट डिमांड को कम करना है. थिंक ऑफ द फिस्कल मेजर्स दैट वी डिस्कस्ड यस्टरडे.
Reduction in government expenditures is one.
Taken. One, you're looking at reduction in government expenditure. The other thing you can do is increase the taxes. Both of them will reduce some of the components of aggregate demand and AD comes down. If the government reduces government expenditure, that basically means we've targeted the G component. If we increase the taxes, that basically means we have reduced the disposable income of the people, as a result of which consumption will fall and AD will come down. Talking about monetary measures, Nikhil, I would want one monetary measure from you. What can the RBI do to control excess demand. Tanya, drop in a monetary measure. Sarthak, if you can share one, that would be quite nice. And Charvi. I need 4 measures from these 4 people.
Ma'am, margin requirements, they can be
What
increased.
taken? So we are increasing margin requirement. That means you're giving less money to the public क्योंकि आप ज़्यादा margin रख रहे हो of the value of the collateral with yourself. Less loan given, that means less money in the hands of the public. Talks about less consumption component. Taken. Who goes next? Moral suasion taken. So you are insisting or you're giving out hints to the commercial bank that you do not want more lending to happen. So you want them to behave in a certain manner, and RBI, through speeches, through letters, through notifications, ensures that the commercial banks know how RBI wants them to behave. Taken, Sarthak. Tanya and Nikhil, am I getting a response? Anyone else who can highlight a monetary measure? Selective credit control. So now we will have to be selective with which industry or sector are we giving out loans to, and we'll not be liberal in giving out loans to all and any productive activity. All right, someone to tell me, what shall we do for the cash reserve ratio? Thank you, Raghav. For cash reserve ratio at SLR, we can simply increase them. If we increase the legal reserve ratios, that means commercial bank will have less of lending capacity. Less of lending capacity, that means less money in the hands of the public. Your money supply reduces, your aggregate demand reduces. This is what we had done yesterday. We take a step forward and we discuss the exact opposite of this. All right. We also discussed a situation like this, where if I'm looking at full employment level at YF, ideally हमें AD इतना चाहिए, the dotted yellow lines, for full employment equilibrium. ये required है. Actual आपका AD is the bold line. तो आपका equilibrium हो रहा है at point E, but I wanted equilibrium at point E star. Now, when AD is less than AS at full employment level, full employment यहाँ पर full employment level पर जब हमारा AD कम है AS से, इसको हम deficient demand कहते हैं. So what exactly goes as deficient demand? We wanted more AD, but we're falling short of AD at full employment level. So your demand is less than your supply at full employment, goes as deficient demand. Another thing, जो आपका required AD और actual AD में gap है, again at full employment, इसको हम deflationary gap कहते हैं. Deflationary क्यों? क्योंकि आपने anticipate किया था कि लोग ज़्यादा demand करेंगे, economy में demand कम हो जाती है. You are giving a hint to the producers that we are not buying your product, which may trigger deflationary tendencies. You may force them in the next cycle to reduce the prices. This goes exactly opposite to excess demand and inflationary gap. All right, please take I will observe the diagram also. We'll talk about, read the entire sheet and then we discuss. Harshit, do you think you can tell me where do we have the full employment equilibrium? Okay, Pranika, where do we have the full employment equilibrium here in this image?
Ma'am, at point E.
Thank you. We are aiming at point E, that is where we want the equilibrium to be. Punita, where do we have the economy's equilibrium? I am looking for the point here. Arnav, which point denotes the economy's equilibrium?
Ma'am, point B. Sorry, ma'am. E1.
Thank you. Point E1 shows the economy's equilibrium where your AD is equal to your actual AD in the economy is equal to AS. And this happens before the full employment equilibrium. तो अगर आप full employment level पे देखते हो, आपका actual AD is less than the AS. आपकी definition of excess demand, definition of deficient demand, inflationary gap and deflationary gap has to be done with respect to full employment. So simply if I say when AD is greater than AS, yeah, AD is less than AS is not excess or deficient demand. We have to talk with respect to with respect to full employment equilibrium. So in deficient demand, we'll say when AD is less than AS at full employment level of output. That goes as deficient demand. And the gap between both the aggregate demands, the actual and the required at full employment is deflationary. All right. Image देखकर बताइए what do you think will be the impact of deficient demand on income, output and employment? Akshit, I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Arjun, if you can share your thoughts. I need impact on income, output, and employment. Taken, Arjun, your unemployment in the economy will rise. So you're looking at a situation of involuntary unemployment. Also, your equilibrium is before the full employment level. So you're not operating at the maximum potential of the economy. So you're looking at a dip in the output. Since there's a fall in output, there's a fall in employment. This will be followed by a fall in income in the economy. Another thing, you're looking at deflationary tendencies coming in. That is forcing the prices to reduce in the next cycle. Just a second. Here. Please take a moment and read this. Just in case you have a question, please ask.
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
Please ask.
Ma'am, in the previous case, we had overemployment. So why were we saying that there is no impact on employment?
Alright, that causes a situation of overemployment equilibrium. Let me take you back to the image. Alright, maybe a second. Let me stop sharing this. Right. In this image, if you see, you're looking at your equilibrium happening at a point of income which is more than the income that is there at full employment level. One thing that can happen is since we are looking at national income mainly, that is driving your x-axis, you can have an intersection to the right of that point. However, और income आप सिर्फ print कर रहे हो, so that is, since your prices will rise, you may end up say printing more. Talking in real terms, how much of goods and services really back that income, वो एक point के बाद constant ही रहेगा. Or how much of factors of production do you have for putting in the production process, वो भी एक point के बाद constant ही रहेगा. So at your full employment level, हम कह रहे हैं कि in real sense, आपके सारे factors of production are employed, and since all your factors of production are employed, that basically would mean कि आपका maximum output produce हो रहा है. उसके beyond अगर आप जाते हैं, so you can't hire more labor. The only thing you will trigger is say a wage war between different companies. So maybe the companies start, if they want to hire say more labor, आपको और लोग नहीं मिलेंगे, but you will have to or you will have to offer higher wages to have labor with you. So in real sense हमारे पास labor नहीं है, आपका सिर्फ price अब ऊपर जाता रहेगा. So that the point E here, overemployment equilibrium, is largely because आपका income level high है, but इस point पे we don't have as many people for finding jobs, and we do not have as much of output that we can produce. Not backed by real or physical resources. It's purely money this time. Did this make sense? All right then, bringing you back to deflationary. Fine, we discussed reasons for excess demand. In the similar manner, we can also have reasons for deficient demand. This time, एक second, हमने बात ये करी हुई है. This is how we're talking about aggregate demand. अगर हमारा aggregate demand इस बारी कम है, that would mean कि कोई factor ऐसा हुआ या कोई component पे ऐसा impact पड़ा है जिसकी वजह से our aggregate demand is less than what we anticipated. So now we can talk about the opposite reasons for what we've already discussed. One, we can discuss there's a decrease in propensity to consume. This would mean लोग consumption ही नहीं कर रहे हैं. So whatever is their additional income, they're not really spending that. So the C component takes a hit here. Another thing, if the government has increased taxes in say the previous cycle, तो आप taxes बढ़ा दोगे, लोगों की disposable income कम हो जाएगी. Disposable income कम हो जाएगी, again the consumption component takes a hit. Thirdly, a possibility that can be that maybe government पहले कोई expenditure कर रही थी जो अब इन्होंने decrease कर दिया है. So the government component might have reduced. Either your investment expenditure could have reduced. Someone to tell me, rise in import से aggregate demand कैसे कम होएगी?
Ma'am, net exports would reduce then.
Taken. If you're importing more, that basically would mean you are transferring your domestic demand to an internationally produced good. Since the net export factor will take a hit here, you are importing more, आप अपनी country से नहीं ले रहे हो. Comes out, the aggregate demand would then fall. Another aspect, fall in exports. पहले आप ज़्यादा भेज रहे थे बाहर. When you are selling abroad, that would mean people in abroad are asking for your goods. Now, if they do not ask for our goods for whatever XYZ reasons that we have, you can take a hit in the export component, and again net exports fall. I can also add one thing, though it is not there in books. Exact opposite of deficit financing. Deficit financing में था that we're printing more currency. Now, if I say that we've demonetized currency, demonetization, someone to explain this part. This is purely my addition. No one is asking this in exams, but I still want someone to explain this, please.
Ma'am, due to demonetization, we trigger, ma'am, the deflationary gap.
How? That's my question. How will demonetization affect aggregate demand?
Ma'am, it will leave less money with the people.
Taken. Thank you. With demonetization happening, Pranay accepted. Bhavisha accepted. You're looking at a reduction in your money supply. Less money supply, implying that there's now less money in the hands of the public. Less money in the hands of the public, your aggregate demand will automatically fall. I'm removing this from here, but you never know. They can ask tricky questions if they feel like. Fine. Talking about measures to correct them, we again go with the opposite measures. Again, we'll talk about fiscal and monetary. Before I scroll down, I would want someone to tell me what fiscal measures can the government take to revive the aggregate demand back?
Decrease the taxes.
One, please decrease the taxes. Please increase the disposable income with the people. Once that is there, only then can they boost the consumption demand. The second option that the government has, increase their spending. Taken. If the government spends, that would pump in more money in the economy. More money coming in the economy, aggregate demand taking a boost, and again bringing it back to the level that we want it to be. अभी सोच के बताइए, current scenario में do we have a situation of excess demand or deficient demand?
Deficient.
Currently,
Excess.
excess चल रही है अभी. So people are buying more than what the producers expected them to buy.
Ma'am, I would say, ma'am, in some products there is excess and in some deficient demand.
Had it been a micro question, Arnav, I would have accepted that. But for overall economy, you're looking at the general output. So I'm not looking at, say, product specific. I'm looking at just the aggregate level. So what the economy planned to sell and what the economy is actually selling. Currently, if you see overall level per, the aggregate demand is not as much as it is planned, especially during, say, this time period when you're looking at festive time period. Also, in the last few weeks, if you've been following the announcements by the government, they have been giving fiscal relief. So they have been offering, if not directly, have they reduced taxes? They've given other incentive. If you remember the economic stimulus package that was brought in, again, government was announcing more and more expenditure to pump in the money in the economy, revive the aggregate demand, and hoping that the economy comes back on track. So the tools that the government can use can be either decreasing the taxes to increase disposable income or increase its own spending. All right, looking at the monetary measures now. This goes exactly opposite to what we discussed yesterday. Just keeping in mind, now we want more money in the hands of the public because we want them to spend. So fine, bank rate हम कम कर देंगे. Someone to explain this. We've already covered this yesterday. Exact opposite है. बैंक रेट कम करने से aggregate demand कैसे बढ़ जाएगी? Anyone who's explaining?
Ma'am, can I?
Please do, please do.
Ma'am, by decreasing the bank rate, that would be an incentive for the commercial banks to take more loans. This would mean that they have more money to give out loans, and they would also reduce their own interest rate. That would further be incentive for the common people to take loans from there, and that would increase the money supply in the market.
Thank you. Punita, that is also acceptable since you're looking at a decreased bank rate. Now banks can borrow more. क्यों? क्योंकि उनका cost of borrowing कम हो गया है. पहले आपने अगर 10% का इंटरेस्ट देना होता था, अब मे बी आपने सिर्फ 7 का देना है. Since the banks can borrow more, they have a stronger lending capacity. Another thing, since they have to give less rate of interest, ये आगे से भी अपना rate of interest कम कर सकते हैं. So with an increased lending capacity and a willingness to charge less rate of interest, more people will be taking loans. Since more people are taking loans, आपका money supply बढ़ता है and you're looking at increased component of aggregate demand. On similar lines, repo rate will work. So this time, central bank has reduced the rate that they charge for short-term needs from commercial bank. अगर आप repo rate कम कर देते हो, again commercial banks will borrow more. Following Punita's line exactly, banks will then borrow more. Since they've borrowed more, they lend more. This is coupled with a fall in interest rate. So your public has more money in hands and your aggregate demand is revived. Someone to explain open market operations. Anyone who feels like talking about open market? All right. Just keeping in mind, we want more money in the hands of the public. तो अगर आप open market operations को ध्यान रखते हो, whatever securities that the government had already issued, now you will buy them back from the people. So you will purchase those securities. उसका क्या फर्क होता है? The securities come to the commercial bank and the commercial bank makes a payment to the holder of the security. Now the holder of the security has more money in hand and can easily use it, and you can overall look at a reviving aggregate demand. So if I want more money in the hands of the public, I will buy things back from them. In excess demand, I wanted less money in the hands of public. उस टाइम हम सेल कर रहे थे, क्योंकि आप बेचोगे तो पब्लिक का पैसा out of the system जाएगा towards central bank. All right. Anyone who can explain legal reserve ratio? Or it says decrease. Someone to explain how will decreasing help? Thank you, Bhavika. A decrease in legal reserve ratio, either CRR or SLR both, commercial banks are now bound to or are obligated to keep less part of deposits with themselves as reserves. If you're keeping less part with yourself, that means now you have more capacity of lending. So since you're lending more money in the hands of the public and increased aggregate demand. I can be specific about, I can either say CRR का क्या impact होगा या SLR का क्या होगा, or collectively I can make it legal reserve ratio. I hope we know that all three work in the similar manner. Talking about margin requirement. Margin again was the difference between the value of the collateral and the loan that you're getting. Now we want people to have more loan, तो आप कम margin रखोगे. So पहले अगर कोई 1 लाख का आपको collateral दे रहा है, आपने 40% का margin रखा है. That would mean that the loan amount goes as 60,000. Now I want people to have more loan with themselves, so I will decrease the margin. Margin अगर decrease करी say something like 30%, now the loan amount comes down. comes out to be 70,000. Collateral उतना ही है. It is just that bank ने अपना tool edit किया है. That is the margin. You've decreased the requirement that banks are supposed to keep with themselves. Moral suasion this time works in another direction. This time you are advising them to lend more. So lend to, and how exactly are you doing that? Again, not really altering any quantitative tool, but simply hinting out to commercial bank on what lines RBI wants them to work. So you're simply telling them that, all right, we're okay with lending out more. Lastly, this time for selective credit control, we are no longer rationing credit. So the sectors that maybe we were not giving out loans earlier to, we would even give out loans to them. All the priorities that we had initially, we'll also take off those priorities so that you are increasing the money in circulation in some way or the other, and the aggregate demand is revived. If you see, this is exact opposite of what we did previously. The kind of questions that you can have, I can ask you to explain deflationary gap, and I can give you a tool and I can ask you to explain how will that tool help. Or I can ask you to explain, if you look at the first question, explain the meaning of deflationary gap, goes without saying diagram बनाएंगे आप यहाँ पर. Another thing I can do is question में margin requirement है, मैं आपको कह सकती हूँ explain how we can rectify the situation using a qualitative instrument of monetary authority. So you can explain any qualitative of your choice, or I can measure, or I can write monetary tool of quantitative instrument, or I can write fiscal measures that the government can take. So there can be different ways of asking questions about this. All right, it is 9:06. We're done with the first class. You have a 10 minutes break. Take a round. We meet in 10 minutes and we continue. You may go for 10 minutes. For macro, we have different units. We've covered national income. We've covered government budget. We've covered money and banking. And with the last discussion of deficient demand, we've also finished the entire unit of determination and income and employment. Just to give you a recap, we started off with our discussion of aggregate demand, if you remember, where we discussed different components. Then we talked about C component, that is discussion at large. We assumed investment to be autonomous. We spoke about aggregate supply, and then we spoke of equilibrium. Equilibrium ने दो cases करे थे. One we did through approach of aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Next we spoke in sense of saving and investment. And whenever we talk about equilibrium, we're looking at, say, a diagrammatic explanation, we're looking at schedule, we're talking about adjustment mechanisms, कि अगर AD is not equal to AS, फिर क्या होगा? That is what we spoke of. Then we brought in the angle of full employment equilibrium. And then we discussed if we have equilibrium at full employment, तो क्या होता है? If we have equilibrium before full employment, तो क्या होता है? If we have equilibrium after full employment, फिर क्या हो सकता है? Another thing that we discussed was investment multiplier, if you remember. Becomes an important topic. We can have numericals on that. We can have a question based on the working of multiplier. All those things go as a part of the previous unit. Now we are left with one unit, and good for us, this time they've offered a lot of deletions in this unit. So ideally this unit has 2 lessons. Since we have a lot of deletions, we don't really have to do the entire portion. Fine, we'll start talking about foreign exchange rate. This also becomes quite a relatable unit, and we end up using it in day-to-day life as well. We'll talk about foreign exchange markets. When we're looking at foreign exchange, what exactly is foreign exchange, or why are we talking about it? Now, different countries are using their own domestic currency. So if I'm in India, I'm simply using rupees. If I'm in US, I'm using dollars. If I'm elsewhere, I'm using their local currency. Why exactly exactly will be concept of foreign exchange coming in if people of different countries want to trade something with one another, or someone is moving elsewhere or is just visiting another country? You cannot offer your domestic currency there. I cannot go to China and offer rupees there, or I will not accept, say, the Japanese yen as a payment for my services made to a, say a Japanese tourist. So you have to have some way by which we can convert our domestic currency in the currency of the foreign country's currency. Looking at that, we have the concept of foreign exchange coming in. What exactly is foreign exchange? When I'm talking about all the currencies of the other countries other than my own domestic currency. So, say yen becomes a foreign currency or foreign exchange for me, pound is a foreign exchange, Singapore dollar is a foreign exchange, currencies of all other countries will act as foreign exchange for me other than the domestic currency. Just read this, please. All right. We have something like a foreign exchange rate as well. Anyone who's familiar with the term foreign exchange rate? Do we know what is an exchange rate? Difference in values of currency. Not exactly. It's not exactly a difference. It's basically the rate at which we are willing to exchange one currency for another. So if I say that $1 is equal to 74 rupees, more or less this goes as exchange rate and has been the exchange rate for quite some time. Taken Punita, rate at which one currency can be exchanged for another. यहाँ पर an American is willing to give up $1 in exchange for 74 rupees. Or I can also write it in this way, though this is not really popular. Say 1 rupee will be equal to 1 by $74. So what exactly is an exchange rate? It is simply showing how is one currency being converted into other currency. So you have a price of one currency in terms of other currency. Yeah, this is what we very often observe. $1 is equal to 74 rupees. Works for both the countries. I will have to give 74 rupees to an American to have $1. Or the other way around. If an American is giving $1, he's expecting 74 rupees. Something like this goes as an exchange rate. The price of one currency in terms of other currency. There's an example here of this. I can have something like this also. $1 can be equal to 2 pounds. I don't know where the symbol is, so I'm just writing pounds. This would mean that वैसे ऐसा ना होता नहीं है, उल्टा कर देते हैं. This is still hypothetical. $2 is equal to 1 pound, which would mean that an American has to give up $2 if he wants 1 pound. Or the other way around. Someone in UK, for instance, will have to give up 1 pound if they want 2 units of dollars. Again, expressing price of one currency in terms of other currency goes as your foreign exchange rate. All right, take a moment and read this, please. And just in case you have a question, please ask. All right, taking you back to this example. Let's do it this way. If I say that $1 is equal to rupees 80, purely for simplification. This is one situation. I can also have a situation of $1 being equal to rupees 70. These are my two situations. Which situation do you think will be beneficial for me if I have to travel to United States tomorrow?
And the second one.
Do we have a reason for this?
Because you basically will have to give out less rupees to get $1.
Thank you. If I have any reason or if I need dollars for whatever reason, I would prefer a situation like this, where $1 is equal to 70 rupees. Why? Because I simply have to shell out 70 rupees for exchange of $1, as opposed to a situation like this, where I'm talking about giving out 80 rupees for $1. This would seem a bit expensive for me. So if I say that the exchange rate changes from 70 to 80, पहले 70 है और अब 80 हो गया है, इस सिचुएशन को हम डेप्रिसिएशन कहते हैं. डेप्रिसिएशन का क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है, इस पे बात करते हैं. If I had to travel or if I have to say import something, I would prefer giving out $1 is equal to 70, क्योंकि अभी मुझे अपनी करेंसी स्ट्रांग लग रही है. अगर सिचुएशन हो जाता है कि $1 is equal to 80, that means for the same dollar, now I have to give 80 rupees. My currency all of a sudden becomes weaker. In this situation, जो ये depreciation कह रहे हैं, I will import less, I will travel less maybe, or someone who wants to go and study abroad, they might be in problem, क्योंकि अब आपको वो महंगा लग जाएगा. Let's talk from Americans' perspective. Which situation will an American prefer?
The first one.
The first one.
American will prefer the 80 वाला situation. उसको $1 में 70 मिल रहा है एक situation में, और दूसरा $1 में उसको 80 मिल रहा है. He would want more and more for the same $1. So though I am saying that we prefer $1 is equal to 70, an American would want $1 is equal to 80. अगर 80 होता है, फिर से उल्टा करते हैं, 70 से जब 80 हो गया, now your American will think पहले तो मुझे $1 में 70 रुपीस मिल रहे थे, अब मुझे $1 में 80 रुपीस मिल रहे हैं. That would mean कि पहले वो, अब उसको हमारा करेंसी सस्ता लगने लग गया. पहले उसको $1 में 70 मिल रहा था, अब उसको 70 रुपीस के लिए he has to give something less than $1. But his willingness is of $1, तो वो 80 का सामान खरीद रहा है मेरी कंट्री से. Chances है that my exports will increase, क्योंकि आपको हमारी कंट्री का सामान सस्ता लगने लग जाएगा अब. Chances है I will have more tourists coming in. Again, क्योंकि आपको हमारी करेंसी और सस्ती लगने लग गई है. Chances है I can have foreign students coming in. Again, because you think that our currency is cheaper, so it can be managed. Why exactly am I discussing this? The way the exchange rates fluctuate It affects both the foreigner and the domestic person. अब जिस डायरेक्शन में वो फ्लक्चुएट कर रहा है वो देखना पड़ेगा उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा है. If I want our currency to appreciate, सामने वाला depreciate, सामने वाले की depreciate कर रही है. Depreciate मतलब moving from 70 to 80. This goes as depreciation. अगर मेरे लिए हमारी करेंसी वीक हो गई है, आई होप यू कैन अग्री कि जब हम 70 से 80 जा रहे हैं, चाहे एब्सोल्यूट टर्म्स में बढ़ गया है, पहले $1 इज इक्वल टू 70 था, अब $1 इज इक्वल टू 80 हो गया है. अगर ये चेंज हुआ है, एब्सोल्यूट टर्म्स में लग रहा है 80 हो गया, बट इन रियल टर्म्स हमारी करेंसी वीक हो गई है. पहले सिर्फ 70 देने थे फॉर $1, अब 80 देने पड़ रहे हैं फॉर द सेम $1. So here in depreciation, your rupee becomes weaker. Also, अब दूसरे पर्सपेक्टिव से देखते हैं, अमेरिकन पर्सपेक्टिव से देखते हैं. फर्स्ट सिचुएशन है जहां उसको $1 का 70 रुपीज मिल रहा है. दूसरी सिचुएशन है अब उसी $1 का उसे 80 रुपीज मिल रहा है. Can I say that your dollar has become stronger here? With the same $1, पहले 70 था, अब 80 हो गया. तो अगर एक तरफ इंडियन रुपी डेप्रिशिएट कर रहा है या वीक हो रहा है, ऑन द अदर हैंड आपका डॉलर स्ट्रॉन्गर हो रहा है. The change in dollar here is what we call as appreciation. When the value of your currency strengthens, that goes as appreciation. Or depreciation क्या है? When the value of your currency falls with respect to the other country's currency. Keep this discussion in mind and read this, and you will have to tell me if this makes sense. No, Khushi, and we'll come to that shortly in maybe next 5-7 minutes. All right, someone to explain this, please. Effect of depreciation on domestic currency on export. यहाँ पे हम लिख रहे हैं कि हमारे exports बढ़ जाएंगे. Someone to please explain how will that happen? करेंसी अगर डेप्रिशिएट कर गई तो मेरे एक्सपोर्ट्स कैसे बढ़ गए? Thank you, Raghav. Simply because for the same dollar, your American is in a position to buy more. तो उनका खर्चा नहीं बढ़ा है, हमारा inflow बढ़ गया है because you're looking at a changed price of dollar. Look at this. If I say that an American is willing to spend $200 in my country, let me just remove this thing. The first situation is कि आपका exchange rate है $1 is equal to 40. कितने डॉलर स्पेंड कर रहा है यहाँ पर? कितने का सामान ले रहा है? Let me rephrase this. I have a situation like this where $1 is equal to 40 in terms of rupees. कितने का सामान बेच रही हूँ मैं इसको?
8,000.
8,000.
I'm giving goods worth rupees 8,000. If the situation changes now, I'm looking at $1 is equal to 50 rupees. Again, the American is willing to spend $200. अब कितने का सामान दे रही हूँ इसको?
10,000.
Things have not really changed for me. The only thing that changed was the exchange rate. When the exchange rate has changed from $1 is equal to 40 to $1 is equal to 50, you're looking at an increased value of export happening. Since the purchasing power of dollar has increased, आपका ये बढ़ जाता है, are in a position of buying more. If they are buying more, this would mean my exports will also increase. You see here, ऐसे 8,000 से 10,000 हो गए with the only change of exchange rate depreciating. Similarly, अगर हम export ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं, इसका opposite क्या होगा that we will import less. क्यों हम import कम करेंगे? क्योंकि अब हमें बाहर का गुड महंगा लगने लग जाएगा. पहले मैं अगर एक सामान कुछ मंगवा रही हूँ बाहर से, when $1 is equal to 40, so I'm simply giving out 40 rupees. Now, if the exchange rate weakens, it comes down to $1 is equal to 50. Maybe my willingness to import will also change, क्योंकि अब वो मुझे महंगा लगने लग गया है. तो जब आपकी करेंसी डेप्रिशिएट होती है, आपका एक्सपोर्ट तो बढ़ जाता है, बट ऑल्सो इम्पोर्ट कम हो जाता है. एक्सपोर्ट क्यों बढ़ जाता है? क्योंकि बाहर को अब आपका गुड सस्ता लगने लग गया है और सस्ता लगने लग गया है. इम्पोर्ट क्यों कम हो जाता है? क्योंकि हमें बाहर का सामान अब महंगा लगने लग गया है. आई विल हैव टू गिव आउट मोर for the same amount now. Exactly in the opposite way, you have appreciation that works. Take a moment and read this, please. It is Bhavika, and sometimes countries deliberately depreciate their currency. Why? Because they want to increase exports.
Excuse me, ma'am, I have a question.
Please ask.
Ma'am, if the value of a currency depreciates, so ma'am, wouldn't the prices of the commodity in that country increase?
They will increase that dependence on imports. They will not really change if we are not dependent on import. Let me address this. If I take you back to Indian Eco, where we spoke of the crisis. One crisis ka reason that we spoke of was increased prices of crude oil. Do we remember that discussion? कि हमारा import bill बढ़ी जा रहा था क्योंकि prices of oil बढ़ी जा रहे थे. Since we have to import oil for many productive activities, आपका automatically you're spending more for the same amount of oil, and when it is coming in your country, वो एक्सपेंसिव हो गया है. अब आपका ऑयल जहां जहां यूज होगा वो इंडस्ट्री अपना प्राइस बढ़ा देगी. So you can have a hit in your economy if you are dependent on some input जो आपने import करना है. अगर हमारा depreciation हो रहा है for a certain commodity जो हमने import ही नहीं करनी, for instance, then it will not really make a difference. Oil के case में oil is needed in all industries. Raghav, am I making sense? Another thing, countries deliberately also depreciate because they feel like discouraging imports. उनको है कि आप बाहर से मत खरीदो, तो आप अपनी करेंसी को deliberately weak कर देते हो, so that you disincentivize the people of your own country to spend the foreign exchange that we have. Appreciation बहुत often नहीं चाहिए लोगों को. चाहे लेमैन को लगता है, आप किसी से भी बात करोगे, have it in your mind कि हमारी इवेंचुअली एक सपना होगा कि 1 rupee becomes equal to $1, समथिंग लाइक दैट. इट इज नॉट रियली गुड फॉर ट्रेड. उस पर भी बात कर लेते हैं. अगर टेकिंग यू बैक टू द प्रीवियस सिचुएशन, वापस यहीं आ जाओ. अब इसको मैं उल्टा कर देती हूँ. पहले $1 इज इक्वल टू 50 है, अब कर देती हूँ $1 इज इक्वल टू 40. दिस चेंज इज एप्रिसिएशन ऑफ इंडियन रूपी. पहले मुझे सिर्फ 50 रुपीज देने थे फॉर $1, अब मुझे सेम डॉलर के लिए 40 देने. मतलब यहाँ पर अब रुपी स्ट्रांग हो गया. रुपी स्ट्रांग हो गया तो चलो इसका भी देख लेते हैं. पहले अमेरिकन मुझसे 10,000 का सामान खरीद रहा है, अब वो मुझसे 8,000 का सामान खरीद रहा है. विद द करेंसी एप्रिसिएशन, एक्सपोर्ट्स को क्या हो रहा है?
And they will increase.
Change from 10,000 to 8,000. First I'm selling for 10,000. Now I'm selling to 8,000. So I'm looking at a fall in exports or a decrease in exports. ये कैसे हो रहा है? क्योंकि अब अमेरिकन को आप महंगे लग रहे हो. अमेरिकन का पर्सपेक्टिव देख लो. पहले वो $1 में 50 रुपए का सामान खरीद पा रहा है, अब वो $1 में सिर्फ 40 का सामान खरीद पा रहा है. So now though we think mentally हमें लगता है that appreciation is a good thing for the day, but your exports will take a hit. And if your exports are taking a hit, the other way around, imports will increase. Now I can easily travel abroad. जाना चाहती हूँ बिल्कुल जाओ. Or I can go and study. पहले मुझे 50 रुपीज देने पड़ रहे थे $1 के लिए, अब मुझे सिर्फ 40 देने हैं. So now I can buy things from abroad, I can travel abroad, I can study abroad, I can do whatever I want to do because this favors me. So a stronger rupee will increase your imports but will weaken your exports. All right, take a moment and read this. Appreciation, I think I've asked you to read this already, sorry. Appreciation works in direct contrast with your depreciation. Now, when we're looking at foreign exchange rates, your countries have different ways of fixing or determining the exchange rate. We'll be talking about 3 exchange rates. One, we'll talk about fixed, next is flexible, next is managed. Fixed exchange rate क्या होता है? आपकी monetary authority ही decide करती है कि कितना exchange rate रखना है. So if I say that our government had arbitrarily decide, खुद से आप decide करके बैठ गए हो, something like this, $1 is equal to 35. You have fixed the exchange rate और आपको कोई भी deviation accepted नहीं है. So you are not okay with 34, you are not okay with 36. Such a system goes as the fixed exchange rate. Why do they generally do that? Because they want a uniformity in trading the currency. This they also know कि इसका क्या impact होएगा हमारे exports पे और imports पे. This situation as contrast to the situation like this. दोनों में से कहाँ पर हम ज्यादा import कर रहे हैं और कहाँ पर हम ज्यादा export कर रहे हैं? ज्यादा import कहाँ होगा पहले ये बता दो.
I'm in the first situation.
I'm looking at more import here, and if I'm looking at more import, by default I'm looking at less exports. Less export क्यों? क्योंकि बाहर वाले को आप महंगे लग रहे हो, वो नहीं खरीदेगा आपका सामान. Whenever you're looking at an exchange rate fixed by the government, their intention is to ensure that your trade is affected in such a manner. अगर आप अपने आप को overestimate कर देते हो, that means that you are not okay with exporting and you want more importing power. अगर आप अपने आप को underestimate कर देते हो, then you do not want much imports, you would want more exports. A movement अगर आपकी चेंज करती है एक्सचेंज रेट, अब रिवाइज करती है अपना और 35 से 60 कर देती है, खुशी, दिस वन इज फॉर यू, especially for you. When you've changed your exchange rate, you've revised your exchange rate from 35 to 60. इसको हम devaluation कहते हैं. पहले गवर्नमेंट ने 35 रखा हुआ था, अब 60 कर दिया. जब ये हो जाएगा आपके एक्सपोर्ट्स बढ़ जाएंगे क्योंकि अब फॉरेनर को आपका सामान सस्ता लग रहा है और आपके इंपोर्ट्स कम हो जाएंगे. If you see, the concept of depreciation and devaluation will have same impact on exports and import. The only difference is किस सिस्टम में क्या लग रहा है. अगर मैं बोलती हूँ कि हमने करेंसी को डीवैल्यू किया है, दिस मीन्स कि हमारी कंट्री में उस टाइम फिक्स्ड एक्सचेंज रेट सिस्टम है. Someone to remind me, हमने कहाँ पढ़ा ये कि करेंसी को इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ने डीवैल्यू किया था?
हम इंडियन को
When we
foreign exchange.
Thank you. This was one foreign exchange reform when we had our crisis. So we wanted to increase our competitiveness. We wanted that our goods are also sold in the market. तो आपने deliberately वहाँ devalue किया है. The moment your books devalued our currency, उन्होंने आपको hint दे दिया है कि उस time fixed exchange rate system था. So they work in the similar manner. However, it gives you a hint for the kind of system that is being followed. All right. When we talking about fixing exchange rate, पहले आप exchange rate को fix कर रहे थे डॉलर से. आज तो वैसे भी ज़्यादा कोई fixed exchange rate follow ही नहीं करता because it becomes very difficult to exchange rate. Even before we were fixing things against dollar, we were fixing it before dollar we were using gold, जिसको हम gold standard कहते हैं. Gold standard कैसा लगता है? It's like say 1 gram of gold is equal to 100 rupees. और अगर दूसरी तरफ मैं कहती हूँ 1 gram of gold is equal to $1, simply equating I get $1 is equal to 100 rupees. तो हर कंट्री ने अपनी करेंसी की वैल्यू गोल्ड से रखी हुई थी एज अ गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड और फिर किसी को वैल्यू निकालना पड़ता था कि हाउ मच इज से अ येन फॉर रुपी. तो आप दोनों के गोल्ड के एक्सचेंज रेट्स को इक्वेट करते हो और आपको पता चला कि डॉलर कितने का मिल रहा है या येन कितने का मिल रहा है या और कोई करेंसी कितने की मिल रही है. Fixing your currency that way is when we call it pegging. You're pegging it against a certain value. Pegging is again fixing. All right, take a moment and read this. If you have a question, please ask. Do we have any questions? All right, then we move to, this is devaluation and devaluation. They work just like depreciation and appreciation, but whenever we're using these terms, this is for us to tell that we're following the fixed exchange rate system. So there's this very common question about differentiate between devaluation and depreciation. Or there's a question that says that depreciation is same as devaluation. Please do not fall for that trap. Bhavishya pegging is simply fixing the value against a certain commodity. Earlier that commodity was gold, then it was revised to US dollars, and now we're not really following fixed exchange rate. So just take pegging as fixing. All right, moving forth. The other extreme, एक है कि आपका गवर्नमेंट कितना ज्यादा कंट्रोल कर रहा है फिक्स्ड एक्सचेंज रेट में, where you are not allowing any change whatsoever. Another extreme is flexible exchange rate system. Flexible exchange rate system क्या है? That the exchange rate is determined by the forces of demand and supply. तो जिस करेंसी की ज्यादा डिमांड है उसका आप प्राइस बढ़ा दोगे, जिस करेंसी की कम डिमांड है उसका प्राइस कम हो जाएगा। या उल्टा देख लेते हैं, जिस करेंसी की ज्यादा सप्लाई है उसका प्राइस कम हो जाएगा, जिस करेंसी की सप्लाई कम है उसका प्राइस बढ़ जाएगा। सो यू डू नॉट इंटरवीन इन द मार्केट, यू लेट द मार्केट डिसाइड कि क्या वैल्यू रखनी है आपने करेंसी की। देयर व्हाट हैज बीन डिलीटेड फ्रॉम योर कोर्स इज दिस पार्ट कि आप कैसे डिटरमाइन करते हो, वरना हम प्रॉपर सिजर्स डायग्राम बनाते थे, जैसे माइक्रो में किया था वैसे वो यहाँ पर भी आता है। डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग डिमांड कर्व आता है, अपवर्ड स्लोपिंग सप्लाई कर्व आता है, और इंटरसेक्शन पे हम कहते हैं कि वो एक्सचेंज रेट है। दैट इज जस्ट डिलीटेड फ्रॉम योर कोर्स. What they've left is just the meaning of flexible exchange rate, where we are leaving the determination of exchange rate on the market. इधर government बिल्कुल intervene नहीं करती है. This is another extreme altogether. What we follow nowadays is floating system. Floating क्या है? It's a mix of both. तो आप थोड़ा फिक्स भी कर रहे हो और थोड़ा फ्लेक्सिबल भी हो. So if maybe the government can say that all right, I am okay with exchange rate of 70 से लेकर 74 तक हमको चलता है. This is fine. अगर by chance 74 से ज्यादा चला गया, say 76, now the government will intervene. क्योंकि उनको है हम इतना नहीं deviation accept कर सकते. Another thing, अगर 70 का 68 हो गया for instance या 69 हो गया, so again government will intervene. So you're looking at a mix of both. आपका fixed भी है और flexible भी है. Flexible in the range of 70 to 74. लेकिन अगर इस range से बाहर जाता है, then the government will intervene. That goes as your managed floating. There's another part of managed floating that I would want to discuss, but I am running out of time. So I'll stop sharing this. For now, I'll simply post your attendance question. This document is also there on GC just in case you need to access. We meet tomorrow in our regular class and we try to finish this entire unit. That is it for the day. You may mark your attendance and go, please. Have a nice day, everyone.